Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 75 of the Beginner to Master Speedrun. So I am getting very close to 2300, currently rated 2293. And I actually recorded episode 74 earlier today. I haven't posted it yet, but I'm feeling good. Why not record more speedrun content? And yeah, let's hop into the first game. Taking some time to search. I mean, as I get higher in rating, it might be harder to find opponents around my rating level. I'm also recording this kind of late at night. It's after 10 p.m. US Central Time. Okay, we have our first game, the Saragossa opening. Pawn c3. I think if I play e5, white will want reverse Caro-Kann. So I'm going to play d5, and maybe we'll transpose into a London or whatever this is, h3. All right, let's not burn too much time. I think white is just avoiding any opening theory. This is already a pretty fresh position for me. Maybe we'll see pawn g4. Yeah, I think if I were to play e5 there, then white would still want reverse Caro-Kann. But I don't want to give my opponent what they want. a3, wow. So maybe a slightly troll opening. I mean, c5 I think makes sense. Again, if I played this, it's still probably totally fine for black. I'm going to go for c5 though. And then look to put the knight on c6. Pawn d4. So, I mean, if I play knight c6 takes e5 b4, maybe I just take and play a reverse exchange Slav. But I have two knights developed and white has two pawns kind of developed. I'm feeling comfortable here. But objectively, white is still probably totally fine. Let's put the bishop in the center and then look to play e6. I guess a3 is somewhat useful in preventing knight b4. I'm wondering, like, if I play e6 here, does white want to play this move? And get the bishop pair, because I don't have bishop g4. e6, knight, h4, do I have bishop? e4 takes, I hit the knight. Yeah, that should be fine. I really just want to develop in a standard fashion. I also want to punish white for being slightly behind in development, but that might be hard to do. I'm thinking queen b6 here to unpin. If takes, maybe I can take on b2. Oh, but then knight a4. So queen b6, I guess knight a4 is still a move. What if I play h6? I don't mind if white gives me the bishop pair. Yeah, I'm going to start with h6. Bishop goes to f4. Let's play bishop d6. e3 happens. So yeah, bishop d3 is coming. I don't know if I have like any advantage. And maybe I can go for knight a5 and target the light squares. And let's start with castling. Of course, bishop d3. A slightly frustrating game so far for me. But this is chess. If I take, it's nearly completely symmetrical. I'm really just looking for ways to imbalance the position, like knight e4 takes. Knight e4, I guess there's queen c2. Can I just take and knight a5? And then knight e5, knight d7. I'm going to go for this. Or I'm going to go for this first, and then this. Almost played knight a5. Move too soon. Rook c8. White's done a better job with time management. But there is this queenside pressure now. Like the rook and knight could coordinate. Knight b3 maybe. I'm thinking a6 is useful. Prevent knight b5. I could play knight c4 first. And just pressure b2. I don't think the b pawn can move and allow knight takes a3. Okay, queen e2. So maybe a6 and b5. I mean, the ideal setup would be b5 and double the rooks. Maybe eventually b4. Always have to be alert of e4 ideas. But it's good that the knight is over-defended. So if e4, I can probably just take. And the knight on c4 is really nice, because it prevents knight e5, ties down the queen to defending b2, ties down b2 to defending a3. So it's not entirely clear what white's going to do here. There might be this idea. But I can always play b6 if necessary. Okay, rook c2. I'll go for b5. Probably expecting rook fc1. Now you have to be aware of tactics. Like rook fc1, rook c7. Does b3 work? Because takes... if takes knight takes b5, I take back and defend the rook. Just have to watch out if white forms a battery. Like there could be knight takes b5 tactics. Knight a2. So I play rook c7. Yeah, just going along with my plan. And this isn't technically an outpost because at some point the pawn could go to b3. But it's very hard for white to achieve this move without hanging a3. Now, I'm not sure what my next moves are going to be. Like, white just waits. Let's say king f1. Maybe I want to bring this knight in. I guess this knight is a one piece in my position that can probably be improved. Either knight e4 or knight d7 to b6. Do something on the queen side. I guess I still want to keep in mind the queenside pawn advance as well. Knight e1. So this knight might be rerouting to a happier place. I'm wondering about this move. I think that just trades. I take on b2? No, because rook c7. Yeah, it's still very tense. So knight e4, knight d3. I'm going to start with knight d7. Just kind of anticipating this move and ensuring that there's no knight c5. And I think I'll play queen b6 here. And there's a couple of reasons for this move. For one, I give myself the option of playing knight d6 at some point. And then I'm also maybe supporting this pawn advance. Now white would probably like to play this in knight c5, but a3 is still hanging. And can I get away with a5 here? a5? Looks okay. Just grabbing a little bit more space. Yeah, time is very close to level. White's kind of waiting. Do I want to trade rooks? Maybe? Can I improve on the king side? Maybe g6 makes sense? Any other tactics? Maybe this and this. Not sure though. I'm going to play g6. Kind of a waiting move. I think this structure is slightly preferable, maybe with the king on g7. Yeah, white's still waiting. I'll play king g7 first. I'm really just trying to look for long-term ideas too. It's so hard to get in b4. Both knights and the pawn controlling that square. If I play a4, it gives away the b4 square, which I do not want to commit to. I still have to keep an eye out for tactics. Like there's almost knight takes b2, but not quite working. I'll play h5. Maybe worth getting the pawn to h4. Fix the kingside pawns. I don't think I want to commit to that though. So now what to do? Knight d6. h4. Knight d6 we trade. It's still a nice looking position. I think I'll play king f8. I'm just envisioning we end up trading rooks and queens on the c-file. And I think the king actually wants to be closer to the center. King e7. Feels wrong to play this move though. Maybe now knight d6. It feels like a small concession. The rooks are coming off. But now I'm controlling the c-file, and if queen c1, I don't have to take. I could maybe play queen c4 and grab some space. And the dream would be like takes, and have a nice pawn chain. There's also d takes c4. Yeah, this is a big decision. I definitely want to take with a pawn. If I take this way, I hit the knight, and this knight maybe comes in. The knight's coming to c3 though. All right, let's go this way. So now it's a 3-on-2 majority. There's pass pawn potential. I have this move. b3 might be coming though. I think I have to go for this. So it's a knight ending. If I play this b3, I'm not achieving much. I'm down on time. Okay, there's b4 here. I think I want the king on c6. Eventually I want to play b4. Yeah, the knights do a good job of covering squares. Yeah, b4 from white is very committal. I guess playable. En passant, if I take... I think I should take first. Put the king on c6. There's some knight a4 idea, or knight d5. I could also maneuver the knight to a6 and attack b4. Let's go for this. Down about a minute. But there's knight d5 ideas as well. Yeah, I think the knight's going to have to stay on a2. Let's play h4. I think now is actually a good time to fix the pawn on g2. Maybe there's g3. even g4. But now there's another weakness. Can I get the knight to g5? I think I start with this. Offer the trade, and if takes, I take with knight. And I'm definitely playing for the win. So there's this weakness, and I have a defended passed pawn. Maybe I have this idea. Never mind. I have f6 here. Takes. Knight comes in. I think it. Not sure. f4 is coming. Play this. Knight c3. Takes. White's trying to lock up the position. It's almost zugzwang. Let's play this move. I think king e2 is forced. But now what? f6? Maybe f6? I feel like it was the only idea in the position. I do allow the knight to come to c3, but then I have knight d5. Oh, that's a good move. e4 is coming. I can't stop it. Oh, what to do? I still want to play for a win, but... Okay, now... Maybe my king can sneak around. I get in g5. If I get in g5, then definitely have some chances. The king might come to e4. I don't want to overpush. This now. $37. So now, yeah, if takes, I take. Still pushing. Still pushing. Knight is still tied down. The king is restricted. King f4 is coming. If knight c3, we trade into a winning king pawn ending. Let's win the d pawn. Yeah, this should be very close to winning now. White is gonna be in some zugzwang. I mean, it's just losing the pawn. I think I can trap the knight. Although this ending is still super tricky. Okay, let's push the pawn. Knight c1 is probably coming. Very little time. That might still be a draw. But it might be winning. That's frustrating. Ay. I messed up. Or did I? I defend the pawn with a knight. King is ready to come here. Problem is these knight checks. Super annoying. Now there's no more knight checks. I'm controlling c3. But there might be knight c3. Oh, there's knight f2. What's happening? I might be winning on time. Knight f2 is the only try. Okay, I went on time. I almost repeated the position. We did repeat twice there. What a crazy game. That was a true definition of a grind down. It is winning in the final position after king f1. A knight d3, I can then... Okay, there's multiple ways to win here. Knight b4 might be the simplest. Deflect the knight and then queen. Okay, I hit 2300 on the dot. What a game to do so. Let's go back and unpack this one. Starting with very bizarre opening. I'm pretty sure like Hikaru and Magnus went through some phase of playing whatever. I mean, I don't want to call this garbage, but it's interesting pawn moves. And yeah, white actually got a position where a3 and h3 were somewhat justified. Like a3 prevented knight b4, h3 gave the bishop a square. I tried to make use of my extra time. I'm just checking if the engine recommends anything better. Like queen c7 here. Yeah, maybe queen c7 is a better way to keep tension. But yeah, this is already like pretty close to equal. But even in close to equal positions, you can still try and create small advantages. And I did my best to keep improving. And yeah, very quickly turned into a waiting game. Or maybe very slowly turned into a waiting game. And then, yeah, eventually I didn't know what to do. We traded rooks, traded queens. But then once I got the 3-on-2, I had good hope here. Engine likes knight a4. Why didn't I play knight a4? I think I was scared of b3. How is this so good for black? Takes, knight c4. And then this pawn is attacked, but I have to keep this pawn defended. So apparently, like the engine really likes this because I assume the king is going to walk over, defend a5, and then it's very hard for white to effectively defend a3. But some of these lines are like very difficult to assess with low time. And then eventually, yeah, I mean, after white played b4, I still had hope to win. The defended passed pawn. I was happy with h4. And then, yeah, this ending was super tricky. I mean, any endgame with knights in equal material can just be tricky by nature. f6 was a mistake. Now white's better. King f3. Yeah, white should have played e4. And then the tides might turn because white has this pawn phalanx in the center. My knight can't return to d5. This knight's coming to c3. b5 is a liability. And if my knight moves away from f6, then my h-pawn could fall. So yeah, my opponent showed some mercy. And then the game just kept going. I went for c3. Oh, c3 is a blunder. Because e4. I can't do anything with my knight. I'd have to move back. I lose a pawn. And white's on the verge of winning. Wow. So I played c3 with about 42 seconds left. My opponent missed a golden opportunity. And then once my pawn got to c2, engine says this is winning for black. Let's see how my technique was. Yeah, it's still winning. I wasn't confident though, like even in this position. Yeah, I blundered with king d2. I missed. How does this work? Knight d3. To offer the trade and then play king d2 next. So if takes, I'm just queening. And if knight e2, then I play king e2. And I'm threatening to play knight e1 to chase the king away from defending the knight. So white has no time to push. And yeah, this b pawn is rolling down. So that was missed. This is now a draw. And then somehow we didn't repeat the position 3 times. Yeah, I think knight f2 was pre-moved because my opponent was expecting me to repeat. But this gave me a winning position. But okay, it was too late for white because opponent ran out of time. Okay, and that game might be decent for a standalone game for the episode. Do I do one more? I still have energy. I still have a full cup of tea. I don't think I took a single sip of tea that game. Let's do one more. I'm not sure if I'll do 3 games this episode, but let's have at least another. Try and extend my rating over 2300. And it is taking a little bit of time to get an opponent. Okay, playing Colin the Assassin. I don't think we're going to see the same opening as last game. You see e4. I've been playing a lot of Sicilian recently. I'm going to mix it up and play a French, which is not an opening I play almost ever. Knight c3. Yeah, I just want to play something fresh. I'll play knight f6. We might go into... Okay, not quite a main line. Bishop d3. Okay, bishop d3 is already new territory for me. I mean, usually the line is e5, knight d7. So, in c5, I think makes sense here. And we might transpose into some exchange variation. Like if takes, I might wind up with isolate queen's pawn. There is a small trap. If knight e2, I play c4 and trap the bishop. Yeah, we are transposing into the exchange variation, which I don't mind. Can develop actively. And assuming the pawns get traded, I will have potential weakness on d5, but the pawn can also be a strength. I guess now it's a question how to develop. Because if I play bishop e7, white takes, and I lose time having to take again. If I take, I think only helps white. Maybe it's worth just playing bishop e7. There's also c4. There's also a6, takes, castle. This is a downside of playing an opening that I don't have so much experience in. Bishop g4, maybe bishop g4 too. Because then I'm threatening to take. If queen takes, I take here. Yeah, let's be active. I am kind of delaying castling kingside. This might come back to bite me, but if takes, that looks good for black. Maybe we see knight e2. Maybe we see pawn takes bishop. Okay, white is slowing down. That's a good sign. Maybe they just underestimated the danger. But this could get very spicy. And white is maybe accidentally gambiting the pawn to try and exploit my king. Rook e1, bishop e7. And it's very hard for white to stop me from playing bishop e7 and castling. So knight e2 is played. I'm wondering if I can defend the pawn, like queen b6, defend and attack. Let's do it. I guess there is rook e1 here. And white can say, oh no, my bishop, but if I take it, there's knight d4. The discover check. So rook e1, I probably play bishop e7. And there might be the possibility of castling queenside too. Doesn't look like the safest place for the black king. Yeah, rook e1 is played. A clever move. So if I... Actually, what do I do? If I play bishop e7, knight f4. Oh, but knight f4, then I take the bishop. So bishop e7, let's say takes, knight f4. But then I have knight e4. I think that's okay. And the dream is to castle and keep the pawn defended. But if I can castle and just not lose material, then I should be doing fine. And white has to figure out now what to do with this bishop. We might see bishop d3. White could maybe just not win back the pawn and leave my pawns doubled. Because it's going to be hard to hold on to, especially the d4 pawn for a long time. Okay, now I take with pawn. Yeah, so I was calculating this. If knight, I guess if knight f4 or knight g3. Actually, if knight f4, I play knight e4. If knight g3, I'll have to figure out what to do. Because knight f5 is coming, the rook is unleashed. Yeah, this move might be slightly unpleasant. But white doesn't play it. Yeah, now knight to e4. It just blocks the e-file. And I don't see how white keeps initiative. Pretty sure there's a term for the knight on e4. It's not an outpost because, okay, eventually white could play f3. But I'm pretty sure this is called a forepost. Which is basically a minor piece that's defended by a pawn that blocks the opponent's open file. And it's a nice mechanism to neutralize potential active play from the opponent. And in this case, it's very hard to remove the knight quickly. And now the bishop and king are unbothered. Castling is almost certainly coming next move. Unless white does something insane. Pawn c4, very explosive. Yeah, I can't take because I lose a knight. En passant is definitely a candidate move. There's also queen b4 attacking the rook and pawn. White is threatening to take twice. So if I play queen b4, what is white doing? There's no bishop d2. The bishop can't actually develop. Queen e2? I guess queen e2. Oh, but then d3. Oh, but then knight takes d3. Yeah, maybe it's better to en passant here. There's bishop e3. But then I win b2. And that should be good for me. Okay, now I can castle. And now life is pretty good. I'm up a pawn. I have a nice active setup. I think bishop c5 is a pretty effective move. There's rook b1, queen a5. And I kind of just want to simplify. Like if we trade bishops, then everything should be quite comfortable for black. And going forward, I might want to target the c3 pawn. I mean, white might look to play c4 soon. Okay, let's start with queen a5. Should keep in mind this idea, knight d2. If I get to take and fork. But if bishop takes e5, yeah, knight d2 doesn't work because my rook is hit. So I'd probably take back with queen. c4. Feels very close to having some fork here. If I take, queen takes. What if I play rook b1? Doesn't really have a threat. Also, a2 is kind of hanging. Yeah, how to do this? Knight c3. I'm going to just start by taking. I think I can get away with taking a2. Takes, so takes a2, takes. I'll be up a pawn in most endgames, if not two pawns. I am allowing like rook a1, rook a7 in some lines. I think white's going to start by taking. I take back. I'm up two pawns currently. I mean, there's that move too. But I don't mind this. Takes. Do I have some rook trade? I think I should trade queens. Rook b8. I mean, there's a5. Okay, it's time for an endgame. Play rook b8. Now what's nice is I have my rook already behind the passed a pawn. Now, white's going to try and blockade it. I'll play a5. Yeah, rook a4 is likely coming. I do like my chances to win this. Probably want to play this first. Just defend. And then eventually make some loot for my king. Now, if somehow we could trade these rooks, it's a pretty routine win. But with extra pair of rooks on the board, might be a bit more difficult. Okay, so we're both getting kind of a solid structure on the king side. I have to watch out for this and this. I could put my rook on f5. Nice square. I might also want to play rook a7, just make sure the 7th rank is guarded. Yeah, both games this episode featuring some endgame grinds. In this ending, I clearly have the edge. I'm actually wondering, like, if I had this in a classical game against a grandmaster, how confident would I be in winning? So it wouldn't be 100%. I think it's like think it's over 50%. So the plan is to, okay, of course, improve the king. I think the plan is to put the rook on f5 and then look to target f2. Like, in order to win this position, I need another weakness. This is already, I guess, considered a weak point for white, is the fact that the rook has to always guard the a-pawn. But there's a principle in chess, very prevalent in the endgame. It's a principle of two weaknesses, where it's not enough for the opponent to have a weak pawn or not enough for you to have a pass pawn. You need multiple things. So I'm pretty sure I can play this move now. Now, yeah, white's going to have to choose. This is progress, a4. And the rook can come back behind the pawn. My king might have to get involved. Play king f6. Definitely want to keep an eye on time as well. Yeah, the plan might be to get the king to b5. Maybe I keep the rook on a7, just guard the f-pawn. I think the plan is rook a7, king b5, and rook b3. Or maybe rook a6. I can't trade. Could maybe play... No. Let's try this. I do have the luxury of being able to like poke and prod, try different ideas. Because now with rook a3, I have the forced rook trade. So white has to be careful. Let's put the rook here. Eventually the king is probably going to make the journey. Might have to bring the rook to e5. White has some fortress. Play this. I do allow this move, but then this, it gets a little bit tricky. I have this move now. So I want to make way for my king to come to the e-file. Getting a little bit closer to the a-pawn. Let's play this. I have to stay very focused here. Now to cross a d-file. Okay, this is progress. Rook b2, rook g2. Not sure if that actually does anything. f4. Let's try it. Oh, f4 can't be played. I guess king f4. But then rook a5. Yeah, white kind of created this weak point on g3. It's maybe now paying the price. And there is this. I might lose the a-pawn, but win the g-pawn. Or not. And this move now. And king g3. What to do? Take. It's going to be a time scramble. So rook d4, I have rook b3. A fascinating endgame. Maybe f5. I'm trying to make progress. I'll have two pass pawns coming up. White will have the pass h pawn. Rook h3 in the air. Okay, now I can check, take, and then a3, and it should be winning. Although, is it? There. I think it's winning. Because of check, that's not happening. Let's play this first. Okay. Yeah, now the rook is completely stuck. And there's only so much white can do here. Oh, clever though. Very clever. I'll still end up queening. Okay. Queen again. And let's just not stalemate. Okay. Good game. What a grind down. Man. This is sometimes what it takes to win games at this rating level. Just a lot of patience, the ability to keep the game going in close to equal situations. And in this game, I was up a pawn and just had to keep my winning chances alive. Yeah, let's go through and analyze. I played the French without knowing too much French theory, but I wanted a break from the Sicilian. I ran into whatever this sideline is. Chess.com is calling this the Swiss variation. And yeah, c5 is a principled move. Oh. You know what, here, I didn't even consider the fact that I can take on d4. I wonder if this is theory. The engine already likes black. It says bishop b5, bishop d7, takes. Yeah, maybe this is a better version for black. Nice move, knight c6 here to attack the queen. Yeah, I took back, and then going forward, I did like the position I got in the opening after takes. The engine actually prefers white here, though. It really prefers white. Wow. I thought I was a one for choice. But it's plus 1.5. And yeah, the move white should have played, and I identified this move, but I didn't realize like how bad it is for black, is knight g3. And this prevents me from castling. My king is tied down to defending the bishop. This also prevents knight e4, and it threatens knight f5. Do I have queen b4 to attack and defend? Oh, wow. Some crazy engine moves. Okay, there's c3, which is winning, but there's also bishop h6, which is a top move. To defend the rook, sack the bishop, but if takes, there's knight f5, or there's, not knight f5, queen takes f6, winning the knight, and that black is dead here. So, yeah, if knight g3, I probably would have had to play king f8. I would be up a pawn, but white has so much active play. So, okay, my opponent missed it. Played knight f4, allowed knight e4. And then, I think for the rest of the game, I was better. Maybe I had chances to like, better maximize my advantage. Yeah, taking on a2 wasn't accurate. Oh, I missed knight d2 here. I saw knight d2 possibilities with the queen on f3 to fork the queen and rook. But this forks the rook and pawn. And this cleanly wins the c4 pawn. And this would be much, much better compared to what I got in the game. Yeah, somehow that was a blind spot. I was looking at knight c3. I took on a2 and then allowed this trade. And the engine says that this is closer to a draw, minus 0.3 in black's favor. Yeah, probably with perfect play, white can draw this. But as we saw, it was kind of torture for white. I was able to improve and then try a bunch of different ideas to make progress. Between using my king, trying to hypnotize my opponent with the rooks, And then eventually, yeah, after f3, g3 became weak. This is a draw after rook d4. If I take, white is winning with king f2. Wow. So white could have potentially baited me. Play rook d4, say, oh no, my pawn. I wonder if I would have fallen for this, because I would have been calculating rook takes g3, rook takes a4. And it's so easy to miss. The black rook gets trapped. These squares are covered. Rook h3, king g2, and the rook is gone. But that was missed. King f4 was played. And then, yeah, with perfect play, this should still be equal, but after g4, okay, there's a lot of swings with the eval bar. Definitely not the most perfect game. Once I got in rook h3, this is a moment where I knew I was going to win. There's a funny thing, though, here, is that if white doesn't have the h-pawn, and I play a3, then white would be able to take. And if takes back, without the h-pawn, this would be stalemate. So it actually hurt white in this exact moment that the h-pawn existed, because there's no rook takes a3 trick. And yeah, then I just clean up. So I think I'm going to end it there. A couple marathon games this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the chess. Hopefully it goes to show some much higher level play and what it takes to win at this rating level. So as usual, if you guys have questions, leave them below. And if you like the content, do subscribe. It does help the channel. And I'll see you guys soon.